Hey, this is Jeff, and welcome back to Fallout 3 Pacifism and More. We got a bit banged up in the last episode, so I slept to get our hit points back, and to kill some time while waiting for the well-rested bonus to wear off, I went back to Rivet City to pick up the intelligence bobblehead, which I cleverly forgot to grab from the science lab after we talked to Dr. Lee. Our top priority is finding Dad's.
Things are going well for you today, madam.
Very well indeed, thank you, Wadsworth. We need to search the Jefferson Memorial for clues about where Dad went, but our next objective for the Wasteland Survival Guide is to place an observation device in a mirelurk nest at the Anchorage Memorial, which is conveniently on the way. The closest map marker is Tepid Sewers, where I had to go to finish testing Moira's molerat repellent, but I don't want to fast travel there because it's really dangerous. There's a radroach nest nearby, a super mutant camp right down the street, mirelurks around the memorial, and Enclave soldiers spawn behind Dukov's place, and they can get drawn down to the riverbank by all that other stuff. So instead, I'm going to go with what works. Fast travel to the Super Duper Mart and swim from there. There are multiple ways into the Anchorage Memorial. There's a front door, which if you cross the bridge down the road from Willem's Wharf, is the first thing you'd normally see. But if you use that entrance, you have to go through 3 levels crawling with mirelurks to place the observer. There's also a back door on the other side, right across from the entrance to the Tepid Sewer. You only have to sneak down a short hallway past a couple mirelurks to place the observer, so that's always been my go-to route when I'm trying to complete Moira's optional objective to do it without killing any mirelurks. It's in a little annex off to the side of the Memorial Plaza over here. Yeah, right there. But a comment on the Skill Stash series clued me in that there's actually a third entrance that's much harder to find. Just offshore from the back door, there's a drain pipe in the river. And I really don't feel like I'm metagaming, because by now, Luce knows the bottom of the Potomac like the back of her hand. And somewhere, there should be a passage, yeah. The best part is, there's an egg clutch just inside where we can place the observer and no mirelurks to deal with. Hide the observation device inside. And now we'll swim down to the memorial. Might as well get our rads cured while we're in the neighborhood.
This is a medical clinic. Please don't disturb any of my patients. You're in the Rivet City Clinic. I'm Dr. Preston.
My pleasure. Can you heal my radiation?
Sure can. Quick and easy. Only 100 caps.
Here you go. Do it.
And a quick shot. All done.
Thanks, Doc. See you later.
Take care of yourself.
Looks like the turret's gonna win. There we go. Any chance it'll go after one of the other ones next? It's turning. The enemy of my enemy isn't my friend, but whoever wins, there'll be less people to shoot at me. And the turret can't chase me, so go turret! Boo.
You're here! You're here! Stop hiding! Come out, wherever you are!
Well, that one's going back toward the entrance. If this one's still facing away...
I know!
Don't! So much for that. Gun it.
No more games!
The control room seems like our best bet for clues about Dad.
No more games! Time to die!
Anything that looks like it. Oh boy. Good thing he left his logs right here. Take the most recent one and get the hell out.
We are unstoppable!
Things are relatively quiet, so let's listen to Dad's log.
I'm off to Vault 112 to search for anything of Braun's that might help me get this purifier up and running. All I know is that it's west of some place called Evergreen Mills, and it's well hidden in some sort of garage.
Well, that's an oddly precise map marker, given that Dad literally just said he didn't know where he was going, but let's chalk it up to Luz's psychic powers. Anyway, back to Megaton to turn in Moira's quest and think about how we're going to get there.
How's the field research going? So, are they intelligent? Do they have a leader? Some sort of king? Or priests? Or some sort of scaly community center?
I slipped the observer in with the eggs, and they're none the wiser.
I'll bet most people would have just gone in there, guns blazing without half a thought. But not you. You're the best research assistant ever. I've been getting a good signal, but what do you think about them from your first-hand observations of them?
2 problems. 1, Luz never actually saw any Mirelurks, so she doesn't really have any basis to pick any of these answers. More importantly, there's no tough option because this one is gated behind strength, and even if we took some buff out, I doubt we'd meet the minimum. One of the rewards for finishing the book with all optional objectives complete is the Survival Guru perk, but there are 5 different flavors depending on which kind of report you give Moira the most often. The Sincere option, which is always available at the top, gives you 15 bonus hit points, which is okay, but not great. I really want the Tough option, which gives you +6 damage resistance, and is always gated behind Endurance or Strength, so when there's no Endurance option, we need to rotate through the others to make sure Endurance is the one we pick most often. The Snarky option, which is always available at the bottom, gives you bonus crit chance, which is useless to lose, but we already picked the Sincere option for the Radiation objective, and this is the only one that doesn't involve making unfounded claims that Luz can't back up with legitimate observations. So, they've got a little bubbling castle and they spend all day circling it.
Really? Are you kidding me? No, really, are you? Huh? Guess I'll have to wait and see what I get from the observer. Some of these observations about their armor and camouflage gave me an idea for reinforced neutral-colored headgear. Here, consider it thanks for not interfering with them. Oh, speaking of which, take these, so you can continue to avoid them in the future.
Stealth boys. Nice. And that was actually the first mod feature in this episode. A very minor change, not at all related to the no-kill run, so it falls squarely in the and more part of the mod. 5 out of the 6 times you can lie to Moira, it locks you out of the best version of the perk and gives you negative karma, so you normally only want to lie if you're going for the Dream Crusher perk instead of Survival Guru. Or if you're all in on the evil karma and you want to publish a really terrible survival guide that gets more people killed than it saves. But all 5 of those options require a speech check, and they appear when you first talk to her before she asks the follow-up question to get your full report. Like if you just lounge around your house for a couple days and then pass a speech check to lie and tell her you went to Minefield or the Super Duper Mart. The one exception is the option we just picked, which in the vanilla game is tagged as a lie, but it's only available after you tell her you placed the observer and she asks for your report. And it doesn't require a speech check. Since it's obviously just sarcasm, and it doesn't give you negative karma or lock you out of the guru level perk, I just removed the lie tag. Anyway, let's do that injury research to finish up this chapter.
Great! I never get to study anyone who's severely injured. Not without them crying to be fixed right away or trying to bleed out and all that. But obviously, you can handle a lot of abuse. So if I'm ever going to find a good example of human anatomy and injury resistance, it'd be you. Next time you get badly injured, return here so I can examine you before I heal you up. I mean, you're going to get yourself hurt anyway, right?
Probably in the very near future. Might as well come back here after I do.
Wow, what a great research assistant you are. I mean, really, that's dedication. Demonstrating how to withstand pain by getting injured? Wow. When you're ready, come back here with some serious injuries, maybe a crippled limb or 2, and I'll take notes and fix you up. I'll be waiting here with plenty of bandages for you, so don't worry. Just go get horribly injured. Oh, and be careful.
Always am. Now let's sell some loot and get her armor repaired. I realized I was overthinking how to get to the garage where Dad went. The best way is just put on the lightest armor we have and gun it. We're still level 4, so the only thing that's likely to spawn in the wasteland that could outrun us would be wild dogs. Being chewed on a little bit in a situation that's not as crazy as the Jefferson Memorial might be just what we need to get injured from Moira. And if I'm wrong and we get jumped by a deathclaw, we die and try again. I stashed the baseball cap in the locker at the house because the shady hat Moira just gave us has the same armor rating and perception buff, but it also gives a +5 bonus to sneak, which probably won't come into play between here and the garage, but sooner or later it will. Something's around. Rad Scorpion. There's no way that can keep up with us. It's a little too dangerous to let it sting us on purpose. I know I could get rid of that VATS tutorial message by bringing up VATS the first time, but it's actually a nice early warning system, especially if enemies spawn behind me or outside my field of view. There's a mole rat. We still have the repellent stick, but it doesn't look like it's going for us. Oh, it's fighting a wild dog. Not my problem. It's a dog. Thank you, sir. May I have another? Hopefully we'll get beyond its pursuit radius before we're too badly injured. There's the garage. There are always a few mole rats outside. With the repellent stick, that's no problem, but there's also a little military checkpoint just to the north, and leveled robots can spawn there. At level 4, they'd probably just be Protectrons, but it would be even better if there was nothing at all. And if you didn't see the last episode and you're wondering how I can use the repellent stick in a no-kill run, the mod changes it so it actually works non-lethally like Moira intended, and changes her dialogue accordingly. There's a mole rat right over there, but it doesn't look interested in us, so no reason to provoke it. And it doesn't look like there's anything at the checkpoint either, so better and better. Quick and easy, as advertised. Now, let's do a little looting before we find Dad. Oh, bad mole rat. Shoot! Definitely don't want to miss the skill book in this safe. These terminals around the central pillar show vital signs and stress levels for the lounger occupants. All healthy, but in various states of stress. They're all named except this one, marked unknown, elevated stress, and unable to verify resident ID. Which, if we look in the lounger, it's Dad! Since there's no way to release him from out here, there seems to be no choice but to use the empty lounger, so we'll do that. As will be quickly apparent, the loungers are stasis pods that have kept the residents alive since the Great War, experiencing various iterations of a simulation that's kind of like the Matrix, but in some ways a lot worse. Because in the Matrix, the point was just to be realistic enough that the subjects didn't reject the false reality, whereas the simulations in Vault 112 evolved to actively torment the residents.
Hello.
Hello. And in a minute, we'll get force greeted, but actually, before that, we'll level up. We'll bump Sneak up to 95, which will be 100 with the Shady Hat, and put the rest in Speech. We failed, what, 4 out of the first 5 speech checks we tried, so it's time to get that moving up. And for the perk, we'll take Comprehension, so we can read skill books when we find them, and don't have to lug them around and store them at the house. Now, George.
Hey there, sport. Beautiful day, isn't it? Say, you should go talk to Betty. She's waiting for you over on the playground. Have fun, sport.
There's also more than a little Twilight Zone going on here. So let's go find Betty. She's right here. And if we wait a second...
Hi there.
Hello? There we go. Remember that tune. Normally, triggering the failsafe in the abandoned house is the only option for a no-kill run, which feels wrong for reasons we'll see shortly. Come in here, and there's a Myst-style music puzzle. Each of these seemingly mundane objects plays a musical note, and to unlock the failsafe terminal, you have to activate them in the right order to play the tune that we heard Betty whistling on the playground. Or trial and error works too, if you don't have an ear for that kind of thing. So, the failsafe instructions say, Dr. Braun, here is the revised code for the military training program you've expressed interest in. I'm not sure exactly what you want with it, and I again stress that this program was never designed to be run with civilian equipment. Frankly, I don't expect any system you have access to can even run it. But if you can run this program, with the failsafes off as requested, your real-world test subjects will die if killed in the simulation. It goes without saying that, officially, I denied your request, General Constantine Chase. So first off, that's interesting because if you have Operation Anchorage, you get to meet General Chase, or at least his digital representation, in the exact simulation this note refers to. But more germane to the situation at hand, it explicitly warns you triggering the failsafe will kill the residents in real life. But let's do it anyway. Now the invasion sim starts, the exit appears, and we can leave. The soldiers that spawn in won't attack us, so there's no rush, but there's no reason to hang around either. As soon as we get back, we'll check the vital signs on the lounger terminals. Yep, definitely dead. And let's run upstairs so I can finish what I'm saying without Dad interrupting us. Anyway, the game gives you good karma for releasing them from their suffering, but the kill counter is morally agnostic. Good NPCs, evil NPCs, NPCs who want to die, NPCs who don't, none of that matters. If you kill people, the counter goes up. Except in this case. If you check your kill count on the Pip-Boy after triggering the failsafe, it would normally still be 0. If that was an intentional design decision, I don't agree with it. Without getting into major trolley problem territory, if the kill count doesn't go up when you push a button because technically you didn't kill them, the sim killed them, then it shouldn't go up when you pull a trigger because technically you didn't kill them, the bullet killed them. It's also possible, maybe even more likely, that it was just an oversight. Either way, with the mod active, if you check your kill count after triggering the failsafe, you now get credit for killing all 8 residents. But wait! The point of the mod is to make a no-kill run possible, not add new ways to make it impossible, right? So let's reload the save and do what Betty wants us to do. Now, obviously, you don't have any reason to do what we just did, trigger the failsafe before you even talk to anybody, especially if it's your first time playing the game. But after you do a few tasks for Betty, you couldn't be blamed if you wanted some option other than cooperating with her, which is what the failsafe is for.
Oh, someone new to play with. What good luck I have lately. It's a really simple game. All you have to do is make Timmy Newsbum cry.
As evidenced by taking the Black Widow perk, Luce is no stranger to making boys cry. I can do that.
You can? I guess we'll see. Huh. Good luck.
Hey, look what I found. You're getting sent to military school.
What? No, I'm not.
Look, I've got the brochure right here. You're going, pal.
But I don't want to go away. I don't want to leave my mommy.
A clever approach. I'm not sure I would have considered it. Very encouraging. I was known as Dr. Stanislaus Braun. But here I choose this identity. Pay a visit to the Rockwells. They're very happily married. And I'd like you to change that.
What's this? Women's clothing? Down here? What? What the hell is this?
So it's not yours? Whoops.
My God! I knew it! I knew it!
You have turned out to be quite resourceful, it seems. I am slightly impressed. I enjoy your company far more than your father's. He responded quite negatively to my requests.
I did what you wanted. Now you have some explaining to do.
You have amused me thus far, but I still don't think you're quite in a position to be demanding anything. Still, I suppose you've earned the right to some further answers. What would you ask of me?
Where's my father now?
He's here, and he is unharmed. He has merely been rendered unable to bother me.
I want to see him. Where is he?
If you continue to behave and do as I ask, I may be willing to release both of you. But first, you have work to do.
Oh, great. I'm really looking forward to doing more for your amusement.
Your sarcasm is unappreciated. This could be so much fun if you'd allow yourself to see it. Now, Mabel Henderson needs to die. Not just any death, mind you. but an entertaining, well-thought-out death. You'll see to that.
Very simple. Plenty of opportunity to show me what you're capable of.
I don't really want to do this one, but I guess I will.
Of course you will. And you never know. You might enjoy it.
Okay. It's only a simulation, and the residents don't remember what happened from one scenario to the next, but griefing people just for Betty/Braun's amusement is starting to seem more and more like a dick move. There are several ways to kill Mabel. You can reprogram the robot to do it, but that seems particularly cruel since she just told Martha that she's already afraid of it. You can rig the chandelier to fall on her. Up here, you can put a loose roller skate on the stairs, but she might lay there for hours with a broken back until she dies, so it seems to me the quickest way to go is to rig the oven to explode. Here she comes. We can't check right now because we don't have a Pip-Boy in the simulation, but killing Mabel doesn't add to your kill count. Which makes perfect sense because Mabel isn't really dead. She's still alive and well in her stasis pod. And you may have noticed we got evil karma, but that's not for murder. It's because she doesn't know it's a simulation, and the fear and pain she felt were as good as real to her.
Oh, Mabel. Always good for a laugh. Appliances certainly can be dangerous, can't they?
You are most resourceful, and you certainly do get results. You have exceeded my expectations. And now, we come to the last tasks that I have for you. Succeed, and you shall be granted whatever you wish.
You're forcing me to do things against my nature, and I hate you for it.
I don't recall asking for your feelings on the matter. You will continue to do exactly as I say, or you will find yourself suffering from a sudden and inexplicable aneurysm.
And that's if I'm feeling generous. For now, though, you will become the Pint Sized Slasher. You will kill everyone in Tranquility Lane, and you will do this because I say so.
Why are you doing all of this?
Because I can, of course.
I have total power here. I may do whatever I wish. And over these many years, I have found that I wish to see others suffer.
But these people, they don't deserve to be punished.
I am afraid you're not in a position to decide what they do or do not deserve. They are under my control, not yours. Now, if you're done attempting to change my mind, let's get on with your final task. After completing it, you will be free to go.
You might think the same logic that applied to Mabel would apply to the Pint Sized Slasher part of the quest, but in the vanilla game, it doesn't. Killing the residents does bump up your kill count. But with the mod active, it doesn't. It does still net you quite a bit of evil karma, because fear, pain, and prolonging their suffering from Braun's sadistic whims. But like I said in episode 1, Luz is a pacifist, but that doesn't necessarily make her a good person. Yeah. My apologies to anyone with a clown phobia.
Ah! Oh, God, help! Oh!
No. Please leave me alone.
No! Run!
Ah!
Ah! Oh!
Ah! 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 Ah!
No! Ah! Oh! No! Ah!
Most enjoyable. Most enjoyable indeed. I haven't felt this exhilarated in years.
I did what you wanted. Now let me out.
Yes. I suppose you've earned the right to do as you like.
I shall miss your company. This has been a simply wonderful time.
The door is now open. Through it you may return to the real world, and whatever inferior existence you have there.
And here you can see our kill count is still 0. Unfortunately, as I feared, our karma's evil now. That's not good. No pun intended. We want to keep our karma neutral so we don't get jumped by Talon mercs or regulators. Fortunately, we can take care of that after we talk to Dad.
This certainly wasn't how I expected things to turn out. I wasn't ready for Braun, or I might have fared better.
What? You didn't like being a dog?
Well, I suppose it had its moments. But in the end, I much prefer having opposable thumbs. And now that I'm back, I can get back to work. I need to tell Madison what I've learned.
What did you learn?
I was right about Braun. The technology he developed is unstable, even dangerous. But it can be adapted for Project Purity. I need to return to Rivet City and talk with Madison. If we can find a GEC, we can make Project Purity work. I'd like you to come with me. I'd like you to be there when we finally open the floodgates.
I'd like that too, but I can't come with you right now. I'm having a slight crisis of conscience after leaving those people trapped in the simulation, and I need some time to get my head on straight. And I think I know who can help.
The Church of the Children of Atom is based on the idea that each single atomic mass in all of creation contains within it an entire universe. When that atomic mass is split, a single universe divides and becomes two, thus signifying the single greatest act of Atom's creation.
That's a beautiful philosophy, Confessor Cromwell. Do you accept donations?
Why, yes, we do. How much would you like to donate?
About 500 caps, but I can do it in increments of 100 if you like. Back to neutral. Perfect. Now, we're supposed to meet Dad at the Rivet City lab, and he's going to want to go back to the Jefferson Memorial with Madison, and unfortunately it's still full of super mutants. But she's a city council member. She can just have Harkness assign her a security detail. I mean, Dad obviously can't expect me to do it, right? Spoiler warning, he will. And I need to figure out how to get a crippled limb so we can take advantage of our low health and turn in that quest to Moira, so let's save here and see how I fix the discrepancy in the Tranquility Lane kill counter. Oh, by the way, removing the lie tag from Moira's dialogue about the Mirelurks was exactly the same as all the other dialogue we've overridden so far, so nothing exciting to show you there. The Tranquility Lane changes, on the other hand, were kind of fun. There are a couple ways to make the kill counter go up if you use the failsafe, but I used a similar technique to how we get back the 10mm pistol if you loan it to Butch. I created a new quest, APAM Tranquility Lane Kill Discrepancy Fix, which has no stages, objectives, or dialogue, just a script that runs if and when the quest is active. The script checks if the quest stage of MQ04 Tranquility Lane is greater than 70, which means the player used the exit door. If so, it checks a variable in that quest, Invasion, which is set when the player activates the failsafe. If that's set, then it resurrects each of the residents and re-kills them. The syntax of the kill command might seem a little bit unintuitive if you're not used to object-oriented programming. It's called on the actor you want to kill, and it takes an optional parameter to set who killed them. So Bill Foster ref.killPlayer doesn't mean Bill Foster will kill the player. It means the game will kill Bill Foster and act like the player killed him. And we resurrect each resident first because the kill command won't have any effect if the Chinese soldiers already killed them before you use the exit. I mean, canonically, the soldiers aren't real and the NPCs in the simulation are just avatars. The residents are actually in their tranquility loungers. But the people you see in the loungers in the game are just mannequins. They're part of the 3D model of the pod, not actual NPCs, so they can't be killed. Now, unlike the quest that returns the 10mm pistol, there's no dialogue where we can insert a script to start the quest. We don't want to directly modify the Failsafe Terminal because that would create a load order conflict with other mods that modify it. So instead, I created a trigger zone around the bench you're sitting on when the simulation starts. Trigger zones are a type of object you can put into the game world to do exactly what the name implies: trigger a script to run when the player enters or exits that zone. I could have put it in front of the abandoned house if all the quest needed to do was handle the failsafe scenario, but it does more than that. We'll talk about that in a minute, but the script that runs when the player enters the trigger zone is pretty simple. It starts the APAM Tranquility Lane Kill Discrepancy Fix quest and then deletes itself. Preventing the kill counter from going up when you do the Pint Sized Slasher task was a bit trickier. First, I made a copy of the slasher knife that the game gives you when you click on the doghouse. I changed the damage to 0 so it won't actually kill anyone you hit with it. And I created a new object effect and added it to the weapon. That object effect has a single base effect, which is also new. The base effect type is a script, just like the molerat repellent, and that script is pretty simple. It runs on the effect target, which is whoever was hit with the knife, so there's no need for an explicit reference like in the code that kills the residents if you activate the failsafe. And likewise, kill Betty ref doesn't mean the knife kills Betty, it means it kills whoever it hits and sets Betty as their killer. You could technically set any actor as the killer as long as it's not the player, since canonically they're not really dead anyway. Now we need to make sure the player gets the modified knife instead of the original. The doghouse has a script that adds the Pint Sized Slasher mask and knife to the player's inventory, but just like the Failsafe Terminal, we don't want to directly modify the doghouse because that would create a potential conflict with other mods that change Tranquility Lane. So I set up another trigger zone around the doghouse. Its script only has an on-trigger block, which runs once per frame as long as the player is within the zone. Trigger scripts can have different blocks of code, each with their own begin and end command to handle different kinds of interaction with the trigger zone. The script for the trigger zone at the starting bench only used an on-trigger enter block, so the code only runs when the player enters the zone, which is all that one needed. That won't work here because we only want to switch knives if and when the player gets the mask and real knife from the doghouse. The game automatically equips the slasher knife after adding it to the player's inventory because you don't have a Pip-Boy to equip it yourself. So we use an on-trigger block which keeps running once per frame while the player is near the doghouse. As soon as the player has the vanilla slasher knife equipped, we know the doghouse script is finished. Then we remove the vanilla slasher knife, add the modified slasher knife, force the player to equip it, and the trigger zone deletes itself. And that should be it, but it turns out there's a complication. Each resident of Tranquility Lane has a script which, among other things, keeps track of how many of them have been killed during the Pint Sized Slasher task. Mabel Henderson's script is slightly different than the others because she can also die in the previous task. The way the game differentiates between the two tasks is by checking if she was killed by the player. When you arrange an amusing death by blowing up the oven or whatever, you aren't set as her killer, which is why that doesn't bump up your kill count. Accordingly, her script only increments the count of pint-sized slasher victims if you are her killer, and the whole point of the modified slasher knife is that you aren't. And that brings us to the other thing the APAM Tranquility Lane kill discrepancy fix quest script does. First, there's a variable that checks if it already handled the player killing her. If not, it checks if Mabel is dead and we're doing the pint-sized slasher task. If so, we increment the slasher kills count, give the player the same negative karma that we'd get if we actually killed her, and set the variable so we know we already handled this condition. We can't just stop the quest because it's possible the player might have second thoughts and use the failsafe after killing her, so it needs to keep running. Back up in the section that runs after the player uses the exit, it removes the modified slasher knife if we got one. If the player used the failsafe without getting the knife from the doghouse, there's nothing to remove, so nothing happens, which is fine. And finally, it stops the quest. And that's it. Now the kill counter goes up if you kill the residents, and if you don't, it doesn't. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, and I'll see you next time.